As you go through the home buying process, things can change. Maybe you find out about issues about the home that you're buying, or a sudden change in finances means you can no longer obtain a mortgage. When things come up, you may find yourself wondering, can I back out of buying this home? Well, today we're going to answer that question and go over the consequences of backing out of a home purchase agreement. Welcome back to Amanda Answers. So let's answer the first question. Can you really back out of buying a home? And if so, when? Yes, you can back out of buying a home with an important caveat. It depends where you're at in the process and what your contract says. You could end up losing money by doing so. If you're considering backing out of a home purchase, it's important to consider the contingencies you have included in your offer, how much earnest money is at stake, and whether or not you're under contract. The agreement of sale is key to understanding whether or not you can walk away from the sale scot-free. So let's go over a few different scenarios. Before your offer is accepted. If you get cold feet or just change your mind, this is the best time to do it. If you submit an offer and within a few hours have a change of heart, all you have to do is reach out to your real estate agent to withdraw that offer. However, your time frame here is limited. Once the buyer and the seller both sign the purchase agreement, it becomes legally binding. One of the main reasons buyers walk away during this part of the process is because they receive a counteroffer from the seller that they're just not interested in. There are no consequences with walking away from a sale if you don't like the counteroffer. After the purchase agreement is signed. Once both the buyer and the seller have signed a purchase agreement, they're legally bound to complete the sale under the terms that have been outlined in that agreement. This makes backing out a little bit more complex. Buyers will typically offer what is known as the earnest money deposit. This is usually about 1 to 2% of the purchase price, and it just lets the seller know that the buyer is serious about committing to the purchase. When the sale is completed as planned, that money just goes towards the buyer's closing costs or down payment at settlement. When a buyer backs out of a sale for a reason that's not stipulated in the contract, the seller is typically entitled to keep that money. This is also known as liquidated damages in your contract. However, when most people put in an offer, they include contingencies that will allow them to walk away under certain circumstances, even after they've signed the purchase agreement. Let's get a more in-depth look at the most common home purchase contingencies. You'll typically have a limited amount of time to act on these. Once the deadline for that contingency is passed, you can no longer use it as a reason to back out of the purchase penalty-free. A home inspection contingency allows you to back out of a sale based on the results of a professional home inspection. It's usually strongly recommended that homebuyers include it in their contract. Without it, you could be potentially legally bound to buy a home with significant issues. So let's go through an example. Let's say you put the home inspection contingency into your offer, got a home inspection done, and a few major defects came back on the report. With your home inspection contingency, you are able to write up a request for repairs to the seller for those major defects, not the minor ones, only major. That's important to keep in mind. The seller then has time to respond to those repairs. They can either say, yes, we'll do all of them, no, we won't do any of them, or we'll do X, Y, and Z. So let's say the seller says, yes, we'll completely repair all of those major defects, but you're still a little bit nervous about all of the minor ones. If you choose to back out of the sale, you could risk losing your earnest money deposit. Now, if the seller says no to the repairs or only to a few of them, and you're not comfortable with that, you are able to walk away from the sale penalty-free, and you receive your earnest money deposit back. If you don't have this contingency in place, walking away would mean that you lose your earnest money deposit. An appraisal contingency protects the buyer in the event that an appraisal comes in low. If you're using a mortgage to purchase a home, the lender will require this appraisal to determine the home's fair market value. The lenders don't want to lend you more money than what the home's actually worth, so if the appraisal comes in lower than the price you've already agreed to pay, you're in a tricky spot. If you're determined to make the sale happen, you can offer to put up your own money to make up the difference. Now, this is cash, this isn't money that you can finance. And if you're not comfortable or you can't afford to do that, you can walk away from the home sale. The other option is for the seller to lower the price to that appraisal value, but that will be their decision once the time comes. If you do decide to walk away after receiving a lower appraisal value, you can walk away and get your earnest money deposit back. If you own your current home, chances are you'll be trying to sell your home while simultaneously going through the process of buying a new one. A home sale contingency ensures that you won't have to buy a home unless you can sell your current one. This contingency gives you a certain amount of time to complete the sale of your home. If you can't find a buyer or the buyer you have backs out, you're able to walk away from the new purchase without penalty. The financing contingency protects the buyer in the event that they're not able to secure financing for the home purchase. This contingency is vital if you plan on using a mortgage. When you buy a home with a mortgage, you'll first get pre-approved to see how much you're able to borrow. Then, once you're under contract and we get the appraisal completed, you'll go through the full approval process. If you have a sudden change in your financial situation or the lender learns information that wasn't originally included in the pre-approval, you could be at risk of getting your mortgage approval denied, even if you were initially pre-approved for it. When this happens, the financing contingency allows the buyer to back out of the purchase and keep their earnest deposit. The bottom line is, contingencies are your best bet. Sometimes things don't go according to plan, and that's okay, but that's why it's really important to have the right contingencies included in your purchase agreement. While it's still possible to back out of a home sale without them, you risk losing that earnest money deposit and potentially getting yourself into some legal issues. Any other questions regarding this video, feel free to message me. Otherwise, I'll see you next time on Amanda Answers.